What's up everybody? Today's video is going to be all about how you can get John Frusciante's tone through the Boss Katana and a few pedals, but mainly even if you don't have the two pedals, just through the Boss Katana. A lot of people know that for the sake of recording on my Instagram videos and my YouTube videos, I use digital plugins like GarageBand just for the ease of recording in my room, and that's how I get my tones. But a lot of people ask how I get my tone if I were to use an amp in a live setting, or even just how to do it on a Boss Katana, which is the most common amp I think that most people have around the world. And it's one of those very versatile amps that a lot of people have. So I just wanted to answer all people's questions out there about the Boss Katana and how I get my John Frusciante tone on there. So we're gonna cover all the amp settings, what mic interface I'm using to record through the amp, my pedals that I'm using as well, and then the guitar that I recommend to get John's sound. We're only going to be using 2 to 3 pedals, and it's not going to be 100% necessary to use those if you're just trying to get John's like cleanish tone, like the Edge of Breakup kind of tone that him and Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan and all those guys are known for, where it's just on that sweet spot. That's the main tone that we're going to be focusing on. The Boss Katana does also have built-in effects, so I'm going to be demonstrating some of the delay and the chorus as well that John uses in some of his songs. The pedals that we're going to be using are the SD1, the DS2, and the Ibanez wah. The main thing is how I can use the DS2 and the Ibanez wah at max and not get the volume jumps and keep things at bay with the volume so you don't blow your head off. So we're gonna jump over to my Boss Katana. It's all mic'd up through my pedal board and my John Frusciante Strat. So let's go there. I'll talk all about the settings and my signal chain, and then I'll see you in the tone demo as well. And I want to keep this as brief as I possibly can. I'm just going to give some tips for those who don't already know this. John typically uses a stratocaster or something with a single coil for majority of his stuff. Yeah, he has some guitars that he does one-offs with, like Californication and Other Side on the Gretsch White Falcon, but 90% of his stuff is done with a stratocaster. So anything with single coil pickups will get you in the ballpark estimate range. You don't need to have a $4,000 guitar. So as long as you have a Strat style guitar with single coils in them, you should be good to go. Pedals aren't 100% necessary to get his clean tone and his basic rhythm tone. We're going to be going into 3 pedals here, and I'm only really going to be using 2 of them. The main sound is coming from how the amp is set up, which we'll get to in a second. We're going from my guitar into my Boss DS2. That's going into my Super Overdrive, my Boss SD1, and then into the Ibanez wah V3. And that's going directly into my Boss Katana. The only 2 that are super necessary here are the Boss DS2 and the Ibanez wah for most of his solo stuff, because everything else you can get away with using the Boss Katana as just your clean tone, and then there are some effects on there like delay and chorus, which I'll just briefly touch on later in the video. Now that you have that out of the way and you only really need those 2 pedals, a lot of people do say you need the CE1 or like another pedal that helps with the gain stage, and I agree to an extent. Like after I got my CE1, I really understood how important it is to getting that little sparkle to his tone. But if you're on a budget or you don't have the money to spend on a whole pedal board and you just want the guitar and a Boss Katana, you'll be good to go. If you want his lead tones and the full out distortion, then you'll have to pick up those 2 pedals, the WH10, the Ibanez wah, and the turbo distortion. Those are the 2 pedals that you'll need. So I just want to say how I'm recording this. So it's a Shure FM57 microphone, SM57 into a Euphoria UMC 22 interface by Behringer. So for the amp, I have the Boss Katana Make 1. So for the gain, we have it directly pointing upwards at around 5. Then for the volume, we have it in between 4 and 4.5. This can vary, but know that if you crank it at max, it will affect the tone slightly. So for the EQ, we have bass all the way at 10. It's maxed out. The mids are at about 7, and the treble is at about 3.5, 4. I have slight amount of reverb. You can put that to your personal taste. My master volume is all the way up, and we're on the 1/2 watt mode. Note that if you play on the 25 watt mode or the 50 watt mode, you're gonna have more headroom, and by that I mean your tone will be cleaner than what I have it at right now when you put the gain at this setting. So you might have to crank the gain and the volume a bit more if you're playing at those higher watt settings, because there's more headroom. We're gonna do some playthroughs to show you some of the tones on how it sounds. I don't want to take too much of your time, but basically that's all you're going to have to do. This also helps you with the volume jump for the DS2 and the Ibanez wah. Because we have the gain set on the amp to be just enough where it's breaking up slightly and giving you a little bit of grit and distortion, not distortion, but overdrive and breakup. The DS2 and the WH10 have a very seldom volume jump, and a lot of people struggle with having massive volume jumps because they don't have their amp set properly. For me, when I have my entire board in, is the CE1. If you want to check that out, I have a full video called Get John Frusciante's Tone on a Budget, and that covers how I use my CE1 to get the breakup tone. But for this video, I'm showing you that you don't actually need the CE1 all the time. You can use the amp to control the volume jump, and I have my DS2 set with everything on max on the Turbo 2 mode, and my Ibanez wah is on the depth at 10. And with that being said, if you want to see a full detailed video of the Ibanez WH10 and the Boss DS2 and how you can tame the volume jump, just comment it below. Let me know what other videos you want to see. I want to start doing more engaging content like this, and you can also expect a lot more content like this coming in my John Frusciante Masterclass course, hopefully before the summer. Now let's get into playing the guitar so I can show you how this tone sounds. again, I really appreciate you supporting the channel and watching all the way to the end. I hope this helped you out with how you can get John Frusciante inspired tone on a Boss Katana or a solid state amp in general. Hopefully you got some tips out of this with the volume jumps and just found a little bit of value through it. I really enjoy making this type of content, and like I said a little bit earlier, John Frusciante masterclass course by me is coming out soon, so it'll have this kind of stuff as well as, you know, how to solo like John and all that kind of stuff. So if you are interested in lessons before that kind of stuff, I do one-on-one lessons. You can DM me on Instagram or shoot me an email. My email is in my YouTube bio. And if you are interested in more behind the scenes content and stuff like that, you can also follow me on Instagram. I'll put it somewhere on the page. And if you have any questions, shoot me a message there about anything that I talked about in today's video, or just any questions in general. But like I said, I really appreciate all the support. If you could like and comment on the video, tell me what you want to see next, give me some ideas. It would really help push and show support towards the channel. And I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.